Marco had spent 20 years perfecting his craft in the world's finest restaurants, but there was one recipe that continued to elude him: his grandmother's legendary mushroom risotto that he remembered from childhood summers in northern Italy. The recipe in his grandmother's cookbook offered only vague measurements: a handful of this, and cook until it feels right, leaving Marco to rely on fragments of memory to guide his attempts. Each weekend for 6 months, Marco experimented with different varieties of mushrooms, broths, and cooking techniques, but something was always missing from the final result. The quest became almost obsessive, keeping him awake at night as he tried to deconstruct what made his grandmother's version so special. Was it the type of rice, the temperature of the stock, or something else entirely? While visiting a small farmer's market, Marco discovered an elderly woman selling rare mountain mushrooms that looked strikingly similar to those his grandmother had gathered herself from the hillsides around their village. The moment Marco began cooking with these special mushrooms, the kitchen filled with a familiar aroma that instantly transported him back to his grandmother's small rustic kitchen. With trembling hands, he brought the first spoonful to his lips, and in that moment of tasting, tears welled in his eyes. The flavor was exactly as he remembered from 30 years ago. After perfecting the recipe, Marco added Nonna's risotto ai funghi to his restaurant's menu, not as a modern reinterpretation, but as a faithful homage prepared exactly as his grandmother had done. The dish quickly became his signature, with elderly patrons sometimes weeping after the first taste, telling Marco it reminded them of their own grandmother's cooking from the old country. Eventually, Marco began teaching cooking classes centered around memory and emotion, showing aspiring chefs that sometimes the most important ingredient in a dish is the love and history behind it. His journey came full circle when he returned to his grandmother's village in Italy, finding himself gathering mushrooms in the very same hillside forest she had visited decades before, now understanding that he had been searching not just for a recipe, but for a connection to his roots.